Yo, yo. What up? What up? Yo. What up? What up? Hey. Hey, welcome. Welcome to Benny's crib. What up? Yeah, just leave your shoes over there. It's cool. Yeah, thanks. Does that sound cool? Yo, what up? Welcome to Benny's crib. We are live from Portland, Maine. Beautiful people, it is another night here. It is kind of a cool one, overcast one after we had that damn heat wave, and I'm cool with it. Tonight's guest is a Portland hip-hop artist, Words of Phrase. How are you?
What's good, man? Thank you for having me.
Hey, we're feeling good to be here. We're feeling blessed to be here, and yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I got some caffeine, some sativa, and some tea running through me right now. So my brain
I'm on
is
the same page, man.
Yeah, I think Tristan allegedly might be too. So everyone's flowing here
Right.
together. So
The universe connected that
hell
real
yeah.
quick.
All connected by our motivators and substances.
Mm-hmm.
First question to kick off these interviews that I ask everybody will be this one: what is your first memory of hip hop?
First memory of hip hop. Yeah, that was with my father actually, and I think it was '96. My parents had just split up. This is in Roanoke, Virginia, where I'm from, and my dad listened to Public Enemy, Fear of a Black Planet, and
Great album.
ODB, Return of 36 Chambers.
I even like that.
I remember that a lot, and I don't know if I took it or you let me borrow it, but I just remember him, this talk is like, don't tell your mom about this. I think mainly that was that ODB.
Oh yeah, the albums. Brooklyn Zoo.
Yeah. And after that, I was just luckily, born in a household of such good music. And so like I knew early on that I was connected to it, like spiritually in a certain sense, but I couldn't figure out if it was instruments I was going to play, if I was going to be a singer, And then another close memory of early, hip hop that really just captivated me was seeing Shook One's Part 2, the music video on Yo MTV Raps. I was 11 years old, and then that's when that it started to shift even more, So it's okay, I'm feeling this,
Hell yeah.
And it was history after that. It became my, obviously, ultimate favorite genre forever.
And we are here now. Well, let's go back to the beginning in a sense. You said you're from Roanoke, Virginia.
Yeah.
Before we get into your story, I think about the story in Roanoke. Wasn't that one of the first, you probably hear it all the time because you're from there, but one of the first, the Europeans that came over were there, and then they all just disappeared or something, right? That's pretty wild, yo.
Yeah, and there's, I guess the only thing that was left behind were these markings and trees. And it's just...
Could be an alien thing.
There's all these theories, right?
Who knows?
But it's just kind of wild that nothing ever came of that.
Hey man, sometimes you run up on somebody's land.
Right.
It's like you're not your space to be.
You shouldn't be there.
Founded on a...
That's some sacred energy you shouldn't be fucking with.
Yeah, man. This whole country was founded on people stealing land. So.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not here nor there. Don't get me on a rant.
Yeah, oh yeah.
3 minutes.
We would be going back and forth.
Well, what did you do for fun growing up? I want to kind of get just a small picture into what you did as a youth down in VA.
Yeah. Skateboarding was huge for me, skateboarding, hip hop. But before, I started freestyling or even writing, was skateboarding. And that was, really pivotal for me because, I was having trouble in schools, getting in trouble early on, I failed one grade and that was fourth grade. And I remember those years I would just throw my homework in the trash. It was
Damn.
the public school systems in the cities are really fucked up.
Yeah.
Even in those younger years, I grew up way too fast. So skateboarding really was my first therapy and something that I actually felt good at. When I was dealing with a lot of people saying you can't, with how authority is, and school system in general. So skateboarding, and then I started writing around 11, and it was just my feelings at first, really. Still trying to find my voice, and it kind of turned into raps around 13.
Hell yeah. We'll get more into that in a couple of questions, but I kind of want to pivot now because I think that's kind of right around the same period where you moved to Maine, right?
Mm-hmm.
When officially did you move to Maine? You say, wait, you were 14?
Yeah, or 15.
In your teens,
Yeah. And 2004
Mm-hmm.
is when we came to Maine.
What were your first impressions of the 207?
I hated it.
Talk on that. Why'd you hate
So
it?
out of all places, we land in Waterville, Maine.
Okay.
And I just wasn't, I grew up with like a lot of culture and a lot of, there was just a lot more things to do. And I came up here and it just seemed so fucking boring. I guess as a teenager. And I was also like already going through my shit like, we all do, and pissed off. So like I had to move away from all my friends and family. So I was not happy, when we first landed here. But then it grew on me,
Nice. What about the state grew on you?
The music and art scene, definitely, and those people, created some long lasting friendships or even just peers. There's just a lot of, I don't know, just a lot of really really good vibes from that I felt, okay, wait a minute, this is actually something different. This is something new. This is something like it is here as well. It just took a minute to find it, and once I, now I consider I love Maine. I'm pretty content with this being home base and just traveling.
Love it. That's my vibe too.
And I didn't expect that, so it's kind of funny how it started with like the hatred for Waterville.
That's funny. So there's a lot of Maine hip hop veterans from Waterville, I think.
Oh yeah.
Karen, Mike B.
And the cool thing about it is, I went to high school with Mike B. It's a very close friend of mine. Produced a lot of my first solo shit.
I didn't. What, for real?
Yeah. That first album, there's Mike B all over.
Mike B is a huge Rhyme Beat supporter, man. He was on the
Mike B's
Rhyme Beat
incredible.
album, man.
Yeah, shout out to Mike.
Motherfucking Mike B.
And Jay Karen, man, those are my dudes. That's a funny story, man. While on the subject of Mike, so like I'm all bitter, right? Pissed off, freshman in high school, and I'm like, man, like who am I gonna chill with? Where are the skaters? Where are the hip hop? Where's the music? Punk rock kids. Like, where's it at? And this kid walks by with a backpack, and he has CDs just filled with CDs. He's like, yo, man, then we start talking. He's like, you want something? He's like, this is my mixtape. I'm MC Adverb. And that's what he went by at the time in high school. And so he slipped me one of those CDs, and he had his spray cans in there and everything. Like, Mike's been tagging like incredible artists. Like, since I knew him, I still think he's like one of the best freestylers also I've ever met.
A lot of people who I've talked to like think Mike B is maybe one of the more slept on. Mm-hmm. Maybe every facet.
And he's such a nice, like, just a nice, good dude.
He's hella nice, yo.
Yeah, like just a great soul, no doubt.
If you like hearing about Mike B, check out the Benny Script with Mike B. Tristan, were you there for that one? No, I think Sarah Violet was, and Christina was here for that too. Christina Castillo.
Shout out to both of them, legends.
Yeah, man, that's a human being who I fuck with heavy. Mike B. Make sure you go meet the art of listening at home. If you're like, what?
Oh, it's so good.
What are you guys talking about? It's like, we'll talk about a damn good instrumental album. The Art of Listening is a tremendous beat tape, a tremendous instrumental project, so definitely go and peep that. We'll keep it back in Waterville. We'll keep it back with the words of Frey's story. You answered this question already. I was going to ask if music was around growing up, but it sounds like you were in a very musical-oriented family.
Yeah. So, like, my parents, my mom is a poet, my dad's a photographer, so they're very, very, I guess some would say consider liberal, but they, were encouraged the arts and music and that type of energy. And so there was a lot of, from Bob Marley to Pink Floyd, to old soul and jazz music, you know what I mean? Like all of, and then of course the hip hop, what we were talking about. So I remember also, after my parents split up, when my dad would get us in the city, he always just wants to be in the woods. So it would always be like a 45-minute drive. And so my brother and I would have either our Walkmans or Discmans just listening. But there's a time where I remember when he'd have it on like the alternative rock station, and this is like 96. And I just remember radio being so good, even as a young kid, like with like Alice in Chains, like the grunge scene.
Yeah,
I really
alternative radio.
just 90s in general really sucked me in. I mean, I was a kid in it too, so it makes sense. But yeah, like I knew early on for sure that music was everything.
I want to then pivot maybe when you became an active fan of hip hop. and became someone who was interested in listening to that genre? Because obviously, you know, it's part of the culture, and even like in a place like Virginia, hip hop's going to be even more everywhere than Maine, I imagine. But still, when did you start to become like what I call an active fan? Were you kind of pursuing it, looking it out, having favorite artists?
Like you mean like as an artist too, or just an active fan?
Just like I almost feel like unless I could be wrong, correct me if I am, but I feel like we're almost fans first of the genre.
Oh, absolutely. And I consider myself a lover of the culture and a fan before an art.
Yeah.
Always. Because,
Exactly.
and I think that makes the best artists too,
Mm.
because they can understand it and relate, you know, like,
Mhm.
and just when you adore those artists so much and like those are your heroes, it makes you put extra into your craft, I think. Because
100%.
you want to be that same thing. Like, I find myself now, like, you know, since I've got sober, like inspiring young kids too that I never expected. Like, and I was that kid,
Exactly.
you know. So that's really fucking, that's cool.
When did you
I don't
like
know.
become that kid? You think? At what age?
So I think
Started
if I
writing
really
early,
think
you
back,
said.
yeah, I started writing around 11. Um, Raps around 13. Uh, I really didn't get into freestyling crazy till Maine, and we'll get into that, man.
Nice. Yeah.
That's some cool shit. But I think like as an active fan, right before we moved to Maine, around the same time in high school, those early days is, you know, because I was exposed to like the old school golden era music. But when I discovered like underground hip hop and like Def Jux and Rhyme Sayers,
Yep.
and I'm in Maine, so I'm like 15, and that's when I think I became the active fan. I was like, oh my god, this is such a dense, amazing art form.
Mm.
And that's when I was like, because I'd already heard like all the dope shit, like Nas and Mobb Deep, and you know all the classics, but like that just took my mind to another realm.
Mm.
And that's like I like how you say that active fan. That's why I became like obsessed.
That's what I'm saying. Cause like everyone like has like hip hop songs they like when they're little, or you might be like, oh, there's Jay-Z on TV. Like I like Hard Knock Life or something like that. But it's
Yeah.
like not everyone's fucking listening to Aesop Rock at like 15 years old.
No.
You know, I'm making the point. So.
No, and I didn't realize that at the time, but it's kind of funny because I remember a lot of the main kids weren't onto that. Well, at least where I was in Waterville, and then I met, you know, besides like Mike B and certain people, and then MC Adverb. I had two other friends, and they just had like crates of records. Shout out Chris Bernardini actually, and his collection was out of this world, and it was all like all underground hip hop, and we would just get blunted, you know, like 15, and just stay in that room spinning records. And then I think he got pissed and took it away because we were kids and probably not knowing how to take care of vinyl.
It'd be like that,
Yeah,
It'd be
but
like that.
right.
Let's talk about writing briefly. What were you writing about as a youngin? Was it mostly like little verses and punchlines? Or
So
was
to
it
be
more
honest,
reflection, poetry?
it was super poetic. It started, my style definitely just started as raw poetry. I think you can still see that in my, you know, my songs today. But yeah, it's kind of really hard to kind of go back and really,
Yeah, it's a long time ago. That's why.
But
That's
it was-
at your best.
you know, it was around 11 where I remember my stepmom found my notebook and I had these rhymes, and I guess it was like really dark, but it was just like feelings because I was already like going through depression and shit. And she like told my dad because she was like concerned, but you know, which is funny. It was
Yeah,
funny.
it
But I
looks so
remember
serious
I got
too on the
so
paper.
mad. I got so mad. I'm like that, like, and that's why I knew like this is my like my happy place.
That's what you're
So I got
passionate about.
very very protective.
Yeah.
So it started off like very raw poetry. And then around 13, you know, in Virginia, around that energy, there was kids breaking in 4th grade. You know, there was cardboard out, and there was kids
B-boy
ciphers.
breaking.
Yeah. And so like just that energy was like amazing, but I never thought I would even get to the level that I'm at. You know, I was just, like I said, I was just a fan, and I was like, I want to try this. It makes me feel good. So that's when I started, and it took a minute to like even flow on beat because my style started off really abstract. And so like I had to learn to like kind of break it down and rap to the beat, you know, but I think that made me a better MC because of that.
That's true.
You know.
You gotta kind of have those tough moments to figure out what works and what doesn't work.
Right.
What influenced you to then maybe start to like rap heavily and like, you know, you said you were freestyling. That's almost, I feel like more of like a social activity and also more of like a not a practice, but it's how you kind of form skills and
Yeah.
like saying words and saying different even letters, and when some like letters combine, and it's really hard to really like
Freestyling, and that was in high school when I really started getting into it.
yeah.
That was what really made me a better rapper too. You
Yeah,
know,
just
even as a
working on the
writer,
craft.
because yeah, and I remember my boy Matty P, shout out MC Vortex. He was just crazy with it, and like witnessing that type of like freestyle magic between like cats like him and Mike early on. You know, that definitely was really helpful for sure. And I remember because it was like it's a frustrating at first because that shit's hard, man. I don't care who you are, that shit's fucking hard. And I remember like, you know, at first you find like when you freestyle, you like might repeat certain phrases and shit, and so like that it was challenging, but I love the challenge, you know.
When did you start to really make songs in a sense? Was that in high school too?
Yeah, yeah. But you know, I went through a lot of shit. I had some rough teen years, and right when we got up here, you know, I got sent to Acadia. I was in a group home before that, and that's really, if I really go back, that's really when I was like, holy shit, I need writing.
Yeah.
You know, because I was in like a real dark spot, and yeah, I think like around those times, man.
Were there any MCs you would looked up to at that time, like artistically speaking, or you know, just influences, poets, anything?
Yeah, all types, man. Let's really early on, Pac, of course. A lot of people had it, but I was really big on Pac. You know, especially like Machiavelli and his early work. Saul Williams.
Oh,
I discovered his work
so
early.
good.
Yeah.
That's a great name.
You know, Immortal Technique. I remember thinking, you know, when I was getting in trouble a lot, that like technique was, you know, was so educational. And I was like, I remember comparing to what I'm learning in high school and then what I'm listening to from like Revolutionary Volume 1 or 2, and I'm like, holy shit. But man, there's so many inspirations. The Roots, Cannibal Ox, Early Atmosphere, Mr. Liff, like all those artists, you know, that they just seem so eccentric, you know. Gift of Gab, rest in peace.
Yeah.
And the list just goes on and on. And then once I started digging deeper, I was like, holy shit, there's even like early 90s underground that is like some of the rare shit that like some of the best artists. Oh, also Pharoah Monch.
Oh,
hands down one of the, he's in my top 5.
Yeah.
And it's hard because like with those, like I feel like my top 5 or top 10 like changes as I get older.
Yeah.
There's so many good
Things
artists.
change too. Yeah, we're not the same people like we are every year. You know, things that we go through can alter us in different ways. My list will change because of that shit too.
Right.
Heavy, and like sometimes artists will just not impress me. Like when I was in high school, like Eminem was in my top 10. It's no like if you like Eminem or anyone else and likes their like cool, like no hate, but like.
But no, I agree. I
just
can't rock
put
his
him in there
music anymore.
bro. It's just like, what the fuck is going on in your discography, B?
Yeah.
I mean, anyway, it's almost like I wish you changed his name to like Marshall Mathers, and it's like you could like now just rap as like this like angry middle aged kind of like immature but still technically like proficiently talented artist. But like the Eminem discography like is diluted now, bro.
It's crazy though, but like that if it would have stayed like, imagine that like what you just mentioned if it went down that Marshall path,
Yeah.
like, whew.
Like if he stopped at like Relapse for me, if he went like his first Infinite and then his first 3 big ones, and then he had what was it, Encore and Relapse. I'm cool with it. I'd be cool with that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Infinite, man.
Yeah.
That's such a
It's just,
gem, man.
like,
Just the like title track, that beat.
oh, like that beat is.
I used to play that song on repeat, man.
Yeah, same.
And you know, like, you know the feeling because you like, you know your shit and you love hip hop so much and
Thanks.
respect it and do it justice, you know, and you know that feeling when it's a religion almost, and when it captivates you,
everything.
that like you just put a song on repeat. When new shit drops and you have that one jam, it's like, man, it's awesome.
I love it. Yeah, I can tell you got that passion too, though.
Oh yeah.
I want to keep on talking maybe about you getting more serious about hip hop, because it's clear that in your youth, hip hop was an outlet that you could, you know, channel a lot of the frustrations and things you were going through. And then you started to obviously go from freestyling and writing more poetically based into more trying to like do songs.
Yeah.
When did you start to first record yourself? 'Cause that's a huge step too in
Yeah.
the process.
Yeah, let's start from there. That was high school. Into high school. I think I recorded my first song as a sophomore, but it was terrible. Our first couple songs, it was like titles like Lonesome Dove, Broken Existence. Like,
Oh man.
yeah, I got
Life
some.
is pain.
Oh yeah, man. Like it's so funny going back to it, but like
You gotta
we all
laugh
gotta
at that
start
shit,
somewhere.
yeah.
You gotta laugh at that shit.
Oh, I laugh
Um,
and cringe and
so-
want to smack my youngest self. So I feel you.
So that was high school, and then who I ended up forming a band with for a little bit in the early years, Indigenous Immigrants and Shadow Rhythmic, was a duo between me and producer Acrylic, both from the Waterville area. That was really that was really huge because working with other energy too. You know what I mean? Like go from like writing songs from your solo work to working with other people really helped. Me as evolve as well. But me in perspective of Indigenous Crew. I don't know if you've checked out any of that from back in the
I
day.
don't think I actually have to be honest. It rings a bell.
You
but
have
I
to
don't
go
think I
back.
to-
It's
yeah.
like early. It was we were doing some dope shit for a minute. But they were doing their thing, and me in perspective were just waiting, and I get on the mic, and so we started. They had a basement studio, recorded there in Winslow, Maine. Right next to Waterville.
Yeah.
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 And went through. I started getting more serious. Senior year, junior, senior year. I started getting my grades together. You know what I mean? I started really, turning my turning my life around at that point.
Hell yeah, I mean that's not easy shit to do. That's
No.
tough shit to do.
And I got into journalism
Oh, nice.
a
Hell yeah.
lot, and I did the art of skateboarding. I did like hip hop is not on the radio, and that got me recognition. So like a lot of kind of
Like-
teachers that looked
Like
down at me
school,
before
right?
in school.
Those are like pieces you wrote.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And that's when I was kind of being around that energy at the studio. But when it really got serious was I moved away after that, back down to North Carolina, after high school, went through some more tough times. And my mom was like, all right, you're just going back. Did a good semester, did a bad semester, dropped out of college, went back home. My dad was coming back from Hawaii. I hadn't seen him in like 5 years. So we reconnected, and that was really good. But then, I was writing a lot, and my boy Acrylic, Ryan Kohler, he's a painter as well. He started hitting me with all these beats, and we were like, yeah, we're recording. And I wrote to like 20 beats or something. And it was funny because I was only going up for like 2 weeks back to Maine, and we're like, we're going to record this song too. No way, man, because we ended up scrapping so much. I ended up like rewriting things on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up staying up here. I loved what was happening, and there was something that was so magnetic
Damn,
with
you're like, I'm
creative
just
music.
not going back.
Yeah, my dad was pissed, but I got into NESCOM too because I thought I wanted to be an audio engineer.
Yeah.
And then I dropped out of that too. And I remember speaking of Mike B, I texted him. I was like, man, like I'll try to do my school thing, but it wasn't for me, man. And he's like, welcome back to the dark side. It's like that's all I get for a little bit
Shout out
from
Mike B.
And that was really because I felt like low about that, but that's when I really dived into music, and we got our first CD into Bull Moose, and it made top sellers.
Nice.
And that was called Shadow Rhythmic Small Steps. And I think that was 2012.
Hell yeah.
So that's really like when I saw that, that's when I was like, okay, man. I'm like, shout out to Bull Moose too. I remember in Waterville, they just had the small Bull Moose before they all expanded into the bigger stores. And I was known as that kid that always was coming in requesting like obscure underground rap and shit. Because they didn't have a lot of it at that time on the shelves. And
That's
more
true.
and more,
Yeah.
so.
That's funny. 'Cause, yeah, I've got a lot of. I used to work there, so I got a lot of like obscure shit through Boom Moose.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like a lot of the stuff that you were dropping early on was more collaborative efforts, like in terms of recording
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah. And I really wanted to do my solo shit. Like the second record that was Shadow Rhythmic, which was me and producer Acrylic, was supposed to be Words of Phrase at first, because I was just ready to kind of, you know, experiment.
No shit, yeah,
and
yeah.
then, you know, we had kind of creative differences over that, and it just ended up being like, no, it makes sense that this is the duo, this is what we're vibing with. And so like that created, you know, frustration, because when you grow up kind of learning how to do your art and rap with kids, and then you guys end up like getting exposure playing these shows, and it's hard, man. I feel like a lot of times those crews don't end up lasting, but we learn a lot from it.
Oh,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
It's part of the game.
But
Sure.
I loved it, man. Every Friday we get down to the studio, and I just loved that energy, because we'd be partying a lot too, but we would always be making songs. We made so much music, and then we started collaborating with, you know, even like Ill by Instinct and Mike B ended up coming through, you know, so that ended up being like a real dope spot. And when we'd have shows in Waterville, we'd all come through the studio, you know, so that, you know, I had that drive to be a solo artist, but without that, I would not be nowhere near to the level that I reached, you know, so it's kind of, I got to give props to just people that even, you know, shared that energy, you know, and just being able to be around creative people like that was massive.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I want to get into the Words of Phrase saga then. When did you start to go by that moniker?
So Words of Phrase was actually still in Virginia,
Oh,
and I kept
hell
it a
yeah.
long time.
When you came back from Maine, or like?
The early on,
Yeah.
and it was, you know, I always felt like a lot of, like I said, a lot of my early work was really deep and dark, and I remember one of my first rhymes was I was kind of doing an alphabetical thing with words, and then I was doing phrases, and I was just kind of like, and then it just like words of phrase, and then that's how that kind of came about, you know what I mean? And then it developed deeper meaning. It's actually an acronym, which is absolutely crazy. But I developed
the whole
that
thing.
Yeah, I developed the acronym.
You gotta say the acronym then.
Yeah, I developed the acronym like right around the Shadow Rhythmic time. I started getting more creative, so I was like 20. But
Was it
it's
like 13 letters?
yeah, so Words of Phrase, warrior of rhythmic dialect and style, obtaining fly, philosophical harmonies, representing accessible, sophisticated essence.
That sounds like a gift of gab bar.
You could tell who I was inspired
Yeah,
by, you know? But I spent a long time, and like that's just what ended up flowing together. And I was always really inspired by MCs that did that, like Guru.
Gifted Unlimited, Rhymes
Yeah,
Universal.
Rex. What is Rex? Rhyme,
Eternal.
King Supreme.
King Supreme, I think. Murs is, what's Murs?
Murs is one too?
I think Music Universal. No, it's...
Man, those artists I just mentioned too, huge
What's
influence.
Murs is? I used to know what that was. Oh, like Big Crit's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah.
King Remembered in Sound.
Yeah.
Murs acronym. I gotta look it up because I was a huge fan of Murs.
Man, Crit is like, when you say that, like new school Dungeon Family style.
Yeah, he murders it.
It's
He's an amazing
insane.
producer too, yo. So
Yeah.
good.
So good. The first one I heard was that Dat Piff mixtape. I'm gonna put first thing I put my
Crit was here.
Yeah.
That's the first one I heard too. It had no
Yeah.
leads on it because I like
It's-
Currency and Smoke This.
And I played it nonstop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Making underground raw shit is one of the
Is it
Yeah,
really?
I think that's
I
Murs.
never knew that, and I've listened to Murs
Or,
since I was 14.
Making universe recognize and submit.
Word.
I'm trying to think of other ones too. I give myself like 3 seconds on the podcast because once I hear like too much dead air or like seagulls in the background outside, I'm like, all right, it's not about you like getting a train of thought here and like pleasing your ego. It's about keeping the fucking show rolling, and that's what we're gonna do. Shout out acronyms. I'm sure I'll think of 10 more tonight.
Oh, yeah.
That's really cool. So Words of Phrase has been an idea that you had pretty much, you know, almost your entire journey doing this shit. It sounds.
And
like.
it kind of like, it's interesting that I stayed like so, you know, just on that name, you know what I mean? Like I didn't stray from it. And I almost did a couple times because like when I was like younger and be like, man, should I shorten my name to be more accessible? And then I just realized that my style, like how it's meant to be that raw underground. It's meant to have that kind of dark mystique because that's like how it comes out without me even trying.
Gotcha.
You know, like I don't like to force it. Which is really frustrating. There's writer block moments, but I try to let it flow as naturally as it can. You know,
So
raw
that's what I
emotions,
do.
and sometimes it's really hard because some of those songs are hard to write.
Very hard.
You know, so
That's
but
true shit. Yeah.
it's rewarding.
I wanted to think maybe get into when you started to consistently drop online as words of phrase. When was the
Mhm.
first time like you really
Yeah, so after
confidently too, like not deleting shit? You know what I'm saying?
right. Um yeah, so there's a bunch of music from when I was, with Indigenous, and he sent me like not even half of it, but I released a song every month for a year, and that was the first but I ended up deleting them. But it was really dope because I started getting a lot more, attention as just a solo artist, and people
Mm.
were listening and digging it. Um, and then after that, I released an EP called the Cortex EP, which was on my Bandcamp.
Yeah, that was what, maybe like 2017,
Yeah,
2018.
2017.
And Jay
Yeah,
Humble was on some of that
yeah.
too. Yeah.
Humble, Mike B has a beat on there. Um, Morsiba. No, that was a
So
different.
that's like the first words of phrase solo project.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that is the first official one. So
2017, so fairly decently recent in terms of years. Like, I mean, there's some rappers who drop only one album every 4 years.
Right. So it's like, yeah, and then the first like official, that's like the EP, the solo was the after that, Curse Called
Sure,
Passion.
that's a perfect segue because I wanted to talk about that album in a sense and just when I talk about people's albums and their work, I like to just think about the mind state at the time and maybe like the vision or like what was your goal on a Curse Called Passion?
So man, A Curse Called Passion was I couldn't recreate it. I don't even really like going back to listening to a lot of it. It was a really, really dark chapter. I was battling, alcoholism pretty bad and really intense breakups back to back, and that can show through the music. At that point, I kind of felt like I'd snapped, but I poured it, like in a good way though, with the music, and I poured it all into that. And yeah, it's weird kind of like going back because you can't recreate it. And my boy Safe, shout out Safe, he does all my artwork. He's like, it's an album made to listen to when you're drunk. He goes, I swear, you listen to it drunk, it sounds different. It's just weird how hear different perspectives on it. But
yeah,
I feel that way about that album, but a lot of people still love it, and it a lot of people dug it. So
yeah,
I think
that's
the goal.
album I heard from you,
Yeah, I think the goal was like I just wanted to kind of create like that raw debut album. And I didn't want to stray from my style. I didn't want to try to change what other people was doing. I wanted just it to be words of phrase.
For sure.
And I felt like I accomplished that with that release.
Yeah, definitely inspired by a lot of like that underground
Mm-hmm.
music you had mentioned before, it sounds like.
Right. And speaking of that, I even got some like idols, like Cryptic One produced 2 beats on that.
Really?
Yeah.
Teach me on Cryptic One, I'm slipping.
Cryptic One from Adam's Family. Early in the day, they're affiliates of like Cannibal Ox, or it's like a super group.
Oh, so like Def Jux kind of.
Yeah, so that era,
circles.
yeah. Like, you ever hear Hangar 18?
Yeah.
They were part of Adam's Family. Vast Air and Votomega, so it was like a big super group.
Oh.
Alaska.
Yeah, I love Alaska, man.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
Oh, it must be a huge moment for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you continue to drop some singles after that project. I think Black Sky.
Yeah.
Non-traditional Ill Party Jam.
Yeah.
Winter Mantra. I just all saw those on your Bandcamp.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of led up to what we're mostly here today for, is the new project from Words of Phrase.
Yeah.
And Jay Humble, aptly titled Humbly Worded, play on both your names as artists.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about, vision, goal, mindset, potentially on A Curse Called Passion. But what was your mindset on this new album?
With this one, I wanted it to be way more polished.
Definitely feels that way for me.
Oh my God. I've never felt better about release. It's my favorite release I've ever put together because I finally was like, okay, I don't need to go, like, there's nothing I go back and fix. And I've never had that feeling, I've always been like, music's such like a raw therapeutic thing for me. So I release it and then I kind of don't listen to it. I get it out and I'll go back to it and appreciate it a lot of time. But this, I can bump it all the time. And that was the first time I could do that. So with Humbly Worded, I wanted to like, as been in the scene for a while, sometimes you feel like you don't get the most recognition you need and you're slept on. And a lot of like, I went through a lot of feelings that, I was going through a lot, but that I relate back to the early days of being in a band where you have these huge shows and then you have shows where no one shows up. So being an artist can be so draining. So that's why like Songs of Death of the Art, you know, was also, I channeled a lot of my peers in the scene, a lot of the same feelings that a lot of really dope artists have felt. And my favorite artists, a lot of my favorite releases are shit that, you know, was shelved. You know, shit that came out later that was like, oh my God, like heavily slept on. And then I realized with this album too, it's the first time that I don't care anymore. And I let go of that sense of like, I can just want to create music that makes me feel good, but also still, you know, therapeutic. And I accomplished that with that. And also I wanted to, there was still a little bit more of the story I wanted that I didn't finish on A Curse Called Passion. But, you know, with Humbly Worded, I just wanted to like do that battle track, you know, just spitting at you, the, you know, the sentimental track with Family, you know, and then just like I try to tell a story. Yeah,
right? Yeah.
yeah, that song where that just channels my skateboard energy, and that's what felt good. I was like, this is like, I feel like that's what Curse Called Passion was supposed to be. You know what I mean? But it's great because it doesn't seem like a debut. It is a sophomore album, but like in the sense of like that's like the polished work I was trying to create.
Well, it says like a sophomore slump, so you gotta be pumped that it
Yeah.
happened for you, you know.
Yeah. And I wrote a lot of it during the pandemic. And the interesting is I started it before, just a little bit. And then once that went down, I started going through like a lot of other shit too. And you could hear it change, like the second half of the album, like, you know, songs like Try and Run and shit, like all that shit. Like, and it's really, I'm thankful for that because the second half is my favorite part of the album.
That's perfect because I was gonna ask you next. Are there any tracks you really love, or maybe you want to just shout out that are personal to you?
Try and Run. That I made that song and I was like, that's like, because I don't like to get, you know, I touch up on like political shit, but I don't like to make it, you know, whole album of it. You know what I mean? It's like and so I like to get, you know, real deep and personal in other subjects as well. But that one is just like, it's what I was trying to do on my old releases like Monster City, which were real political and shit, but all in one song. You know what I mean? I realized, man, if I can make tracks like that, but put it all in like one track, you don't have to like
tighten up the concept a little bit.
Yeah,
don't have it spill everywhere.
And the only way you can learn to do that shit is by making music before. Like I wouldn't have been able to write these songs if I didn't release Passion and see how it was received, like see what I did differently. And also what I can't forget to mention is alcohol. I quit drinking and holy shit, like I could perform better, you know what I mean? And a lot of people didn't even notice, you know, I still rocked some awesome sets, but just everything, my whole attitude, my demeanor and everything changed. Getting rid of alcohol for me.
It's important too to have those awareness of self in a sense, or that awareness of self.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes these things affect us negatively and it can be a hard truth to have, but once you face that shit, you can almost finally like shed that cocoon.
You kind of feel like unstoppable.
Yeah. Especially when you can conquer, not even conquer because that's a very like, you know, egotistical word, especially when you can just address and try and fix parts of you that you don't really like. Because like when you get caught in rust and you're like, man, this shit ain't helping me. Like that's kind of my relationship a lot with like I definitely had some periods in like college where I was drinking heavy, but like junk food has been like kind of my vice. So
see, there's always like that's the thing that's crazy. We all have like those vices and those, you know, addictions or whatever, and the, you know, each individual and body's so different. Like we all have the things that just like affect us crazy.
When you face that shit though, and you like make yourself, you heal and you make yourself feel healthier.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like.
Yeah, I
feel really good.
As I've got like older too, like I can't eat like super junky food. It just not agree with me.
Yeah, I gotta do it in like bits and pieces, man. Even like everything that I really enjoy, maybe except cannabis.
Yeah.
I try and do like pretty limitedly, and that's a tough thing for me being like a junk food addict. Cause I grew up pretty overweight, and I was kind of like I had like big comfort food vibes growing up. I had foods that kind of like made the day worth it in a sense. Like this fucking day sucked. At least I got to eat pizza. Right?
Yeah.
It's like that's kind of.
And don't take it. Yeah.
Yeah, like that was a huge part of my identity as a kid. And you get high, bro. You get them crazy.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to say no to them munchies, man. Yeah, especially if you're kind of in a moody vibe, and maybe that like the indica hits you in a more depressing way. You're like, man, these fourth graders don't like me anymore. I gotta go get some fucking food. I'm like, hey, bro, you 27, man. Yeah. Think about who you are, man. Fuck them. I'm like, that's true.
I still think that's the best way to enjoy food.
Yeah. High.
You know, high. I mean, it's like, I swear I've never had like the best food experiences. I've been high.
Yeah. The thing for me, too, is I grew up pretty like middle class, and my parents were even maybe like they didn't even like ball out that much like for food. Like I think we'd eat out like maybe like once every month if that it felt like, and if that. I eat like bologna and shit, PB and J's, frozen chicken nuggets, baby carrots, and like peanut butter, just like random ass shit. And so I always have been kind of like, you know, like I could eat gas station food like when I was a little kid and shit. So now as an adult,
Oh yeah, man, I went to
I get
7-Eleven all the
high,
time.
I eat that shit. I'm like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah.
why am I enjoying gas
You
station
feel
pizza
bad
when
about
I'm
yourself,
high?
right?
Yeah.
You're like, man, I just made a shitty decision.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to do that shit anymore. Like, but every now and then, bro, you get high and you gotta play the devil's game, as Mike B said.
Yeah.
Welcome to the dark side.
Yeah, you
Bitch,
do.
we're gonna go get some fucking questionable food. But
Right.
again,
You see that Ben and Jerry's just talking at you
oh,
through the
man,
fucking.
that's dangerous, man.
Mhm.
How we looking, Christian, on the video time? We're gonna take a quick break to see. Looking tremendous, looking beautiful. Looking, just give me a nod when
19.
we gotta finesse it.
19 minutes.
19 minutes. Oh, we're still cooking. We're still cooking with fucking grease.
Seems like even longer.
And for anybody at home, let's say you have a grease fire at your home, make sure to pour water on it. That's exactly how you fix the situation. I'm just kidding. You cover a fire, you never put water on it. I thought about just not clarifying that. And I'm like, what if someone actually like takes my advice
You
and
feel
burns
so
their
bad.
whole shit down because of me? I feel pretty
Oh,
bad,
man.
bro. Moving on from all childhood trauma, food discussions, and grease fire discussions aside, one and the same perhaps. You also recorded at Penumbra, I think, for the new album. Is that
Mhm.
correct? Cool.
Yeah, shout out to Jason Whitmore, who owns Penumbra and does the thing over there. That's been my spot for all my solo work, actually.
Dope.
And, you know, him and I just clicked. You know, we're good friends, too. So the great thing I love about working with him is, like, before we even start, we just catch up on life. I feel like loosening up like that.
That's
you know
really
what I mean?
good, though. You want to have an organic,
Yeah.
authentic vibe.
Because I've recorded at other like nicer studios and worked with people that are just strictly business, you know what I mean? And I don't like that vibe as much.
Yeah, that's tough to get. Like, if you're a big this word gets abused by people who don't think understand the fucking actual meaning of it. But if you're a big energy person, like you want to make sure the environment you're in matches that.
Oh,
in a
yeah.
sense.
And I'm huge on that.
Yeah, same. Same.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just being aware of your feelings and like the infinite connection that you and nature and space and the ebb and flow of everything kind of has. Because we're just so small and there's such a bigger game and bigger flow to everything. Why the, like just because we can figure out a lot of scientific shit and we feel like we have a lot of cultural shit figured out, which in my opinion we don't, doesn't mean we get fucking life to a T, bro. Like there's shit that's just gonna
Life's a
happen.
mystery, man.
Like that UFO report thing that dropped like a really wasn't that detailed, but the military said, yeah, there's like this thing that's moving like a little saucer that's flying
Saw
everywhere that
that.
we don't even know. Based on, and it could be foreign technology. I highly doubt it because I think a lot of the shit the U.S. does, government speaking, federally speaking, is I'm gonna sound crazy, but like more like propaganda based, not incomplete, like that they're lying, but it's like controlled misinformation. Every now and then they put out things that maybe aren't the most true, but they put it out there to make it seem like
You know,
well,
more people are distracted.
yeah,
the
and a
more-
lot of stuff is distraction, and then you pepper in a lot of truth into that because if you're telling 100 lies, 100 out of 100 statements, who's gonna believe you? But if you tell maybe 60 truths and then 40% bullshit, there's a good chance a lot of people are gonna believe you because a dominant percentage of what you're saying is true. And I think that really is a theme that is prevalent in America, but I don't know if you can correlate that to like an actual numeric percentage. But y'all get my point. I forgot what I was even fucking saying. We don't know.
It's all good.
We don't even know
We're
everything.
just
That's what I'm
chilling.
saying. Kill your ego as a species, and then make sure you understand that there's a way bigger picture. There's way more questions and answers out there.
Ego
Jack.
will bring you down,
Exactly.
and those emotional vampires, man.
That's-
It's crazy.
I
Like
like that phrase.
back to energy. Yeah, I felt that as a young kid too, and there's just been like certain people or certain situations, dealing with anxiety and things
Mhm.
really early on too,
Oh, every day.
and like just feeling in tune, being an empathetic person. Like man, that will drain you,
Yeah, fucks your
or just
life up.
awkward, So like, of course I'm going to record. I don't want to fuck with that energy.
I feel you. I love that.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you want to say about your new album, Humbly Worded, before I hit the rapid fire questions? Words of phrase?
Yeah, go bump that shit. You don't even have to buy it, stream it, just listen to it. That's all I care about, man. I got a career now, you know what I mean? Getting into, so music's always going to be a part of me, you know what I mean? And if that takes off, that's cool. But I'm content with now just trying to get better with each release.
Love
and
that.
still just being the ultimate fan. And like Maine has a hella dope scene, and I think like, you know, years down the road, it's already getting recognized. But even like, you know, with the genesis of Monday of the Minds, after Rap Night and shit like
Yeah.
that, it's gonna get, you know, really recognized. I feel
It's gonna
next
keep
couple
going.
years.
You.
Right.
Well, that's a great thing to shout out.
Yeah.
Let's hit the rapid fire questions.
Rapid
though, if
fire.
you're ready.
Let's do it.
Favorite thing about summer?
Favorite thing about summer? My girlfriend in a sundress.
Sounds good. MC who consistently impresses you?
Ill by Instinct.
Lakes, rivers, or ocean?
Lakes.
Backyard barbecues or house parties?
Can we have both?
Yeah, I fuck with that. Let's do both.
But
Backyard
it's
barbecue that
hard.
turns into
To a house party. I'd probably have to go a house party, just because like even not partying like I used
You
to.
still like some drum
Let's
up.
light some draw up and let's like rock the mic. You know.
That's true. Also
Yeah.
true. Last good movie or TV show you saw?
Last good movie or TV show I saw. Man, I watched a lot of it. What's the last movie that moved me? This one is not rapid fire.
Yeah. So it's more like first thing that comes to mind in a sense, not even like
Okay.
the quickest answer.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
a
yeah.
sense.
Watchmen.
HBO show? Or
Yeah.
movie? Yeah, I gotta peep that.
Yeah, that was really dope.
Because I think there's some similarities between the Tulsa race massacre that happened.
Mhm.
And if people at home don't know what the Tulsa race massacre is, it's when a bunch of white residents of Tulsa like burned down this very prominent and thriving, beautiful black community, and they just wiped them all out pretty much. And it's really fucked up. And
Very fucked
just
up.
read the right American history shit and stop believing in all the bullshit they're teaching you. But
Mhm.
again, there's gonna teach you some true shit too. I'm not saying don't be like completely against everything you hear. Just take a lot of shit you hear with a grain of salt, and then understand. All right, if this is like a white favoring perspective, written by white people in America, it's probably not gonna be as true to all the shit that actually happened, because a lot of shit that happened in America that's bad was done by the white people here. I'm sorry to say.
Do your
it makes you
research
mad,
and go
but
read some James
that's the fucking
Baldwin.
truth. Yeah. Oh, I got James Baldwin up in there.
Yeah,
One of his
man.
poetry books more so than his, theories and opinions on American culture as a whole. But I guess that would bleed through the text regardless. What I'm just saying is, the history, much like life, the history of America is way more infinite and potentially dark than you ever knew. So you got to fucking do the right research and understand and contextualize the present as best you can. And that's what I'm gonna say. Nobody's
Boom.
perfect, and keep fucking learning and trying to do better.
Hell yeah.
What's a goal you still have as an artist?
To open up for more of my idols.
Would you rather have to run an ultra marathon or climb K2, which is the second largest mountain in the world? I don't wanna
Marathon.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't want to do Everest either. 'Cause that's too cheesy. But,
The height shit when it gets that high.
Yeah, that's scary, bro.
Oh yeah, man. All the obstacles and variables that could happen.
Yeah. Who's a producer you still wanna, or excuse me, who's a producer you'd want to spit over, like anywhere?
Local or
Just one could be any part of the world, any part of the universe.
Alchemist.
Love Alchemist. He's one of my favorite producers to listen to. Who's a 207 artist that you want to work with? Could be, vocalist, a singer, could be a producer, could
Sarah Violet.
be Sarah Violet's dope.
And we go back, that's my girl.
Yeah.
But I just know that it's time, Sarah. We will make a crazy track.
I know Sarah. I don't know if Sarah be working as much as she used to. I've heard that she's not like as deep in the music.
She's doing the photography and
Which is
video
so
thing,
good and
slaying
she's
it.
killing it.
Mhm.
But Planetary Access is wicked dope too. She's been doing some of that, and she honestly dropped I think the EP Father Time is Trying to Murder Me. I think is what it was called back last year. I like that a lot.
She'll always fucking come with those heaters when we're least
Yeah.
expecting it.
Yeah, it's a good thing. And like I said, it's about energy. It's about not forcing shit. Just do shit as it flows and take it naturally. Last one. What's your proudest accomplishment thus far?
Believing in myself and stepping into a career I never expected to do while still loving my art and being who I am.
It's a tough balance to do, but it's a beautiful thing when you can get it. Well, let's say you survived the rapid fire.
Yeah.
Tremendous. Just you said at 19 minutes, like 10 minutes ago, I feel like. Is that true? I'm feeling good about the time. All my podcast people, the reason I'm bringing these timestamps up is because we now record these interviews in video format, and they're also on YouTube if you want to check them out.
You got about 9 minutes.
We got 9 minutes.
9 minutes.
9 minutes. Let's keep it flowing, though. Let's keep it flowing. I'm going to start to wind down here. you're active on the scene, shows, Monday of the Minds, concerts in the park, you know, opening up for artists as
Yeah,
well when that was around.
Yeah.
Just talk on the scene here. What is it like to be a part of the scene? Because it's not your home, but it feels like it's now your home.
It's definitely now my home, and the scene has been, absolutely incredible for me. It's been equally disappointing when I, put my hopes up, and but that's usually just something, getting in your own head, because it's just hard being an artist in general. But this scene is really good because it helped me through some really dark times, and without music and that vibe and that energy, I don't want to know where I would be. And it helped me through my sobriety. It was really hard because hence when Monday of the Minds first started, and I rocked there, one of the first artists, and as I was drinking all the time, and so as I got sober, going back to those spots was really hard, but they were still so supportive. Like, shout out to Mars, Phil, Graphic, Dan, like all those people were very supportive.
The homies, man.
And that's when I was like, man, this is like when I was really going through something like dark, but even before that, when we played our first show as Indigenous at Rap Night, and this is back when it was at the Big Easy.
Got you.
And so early days, and I just I just remember being just so captivated by the ciphers and that energy, and I was like, Maine has some special shit here. This is a magic scene, It was like IBI, I9, Saeed, so many artists just like freestyling their asses off, and that's really when I got good. But at first I was intimidated. I choked at first. And I think it was that night. And I remember I walked off. I remember Jesse IBI gave me that look, like, come on, man. Like, he was, shout out to him too. He's always been really supportive, and like, you know what I mean? Like, he does so much for the scene that I don't think he always gets recognized for. But he's like,
I gotta
he's
get him up in here too.
mentor status.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I love that, yo. Shout out to 2070s, it's just my home, your home, Tristan's home, it's our home, and
a lot of talent here, a lot of good people.
talent. And when I was younger, man, and I was in a closed-minded small town, I had a lot of fun and a lot of great parts for me too at that time, but I didn't realize that there really is a beautiful, diverse art scene in this fucking area that's literally like, you drive 45 minutes in any direction, you can find like bumfuck ignorant town.
Oh yeah.
And people will be like, I'm not going to the city, I can't find parking. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, I know it's fucked you, but every time I come to Portland, I parked. It's not like I've like, left the city and been like, all right, couldn't find parking today, we're going home. Like, I've always figured it out. The second, like, I can get like food from so many different cultures, authentic cuisine too, not white people making it. And then I can have like, you could go to poetry reading, you could go to a art walk, and you could go to a hip hop show, all within a 4-hour span. You can get late night fried chicken and smoke premium Maine cannabis on the strip before it's down. I'm getting off topic, but I love the 207 heavy music. So shout out my stage, shout out the scene.
I agree.
And speaking of something that is very, very, very serious to the scene, that provides a lot of serenity to the scene, is live shows, live music. I actually saw you recently at a live show, my first live hip hop show I've been to, and that was again, shout out Monday of the Minds, shout out all the homies there for putting on amazing local art shows and hip hop shows, because there was Congress Square Hip Hop in the Park last week, I believe. Anthony Maintain, Graphic Melee,
Big Soul,
and Big Motherfucking Soul, and a Lunar Landing hosted it, killing it as always up there. And you were there.
Yeah.
Just a lot of people there. Like Miles Bowen was there. I saw Unique Unknown was there. Dap
Il Murray.
Wait, I always say Instagram name. That's usually how fucking
That works.
Yeah. Il Murray.
Yeah.
Dynamo P, Brzezowski.
Shout out Dynamo and Brzezowski.
C
Legends.
Money Burns, I think, was there.
Yep.
I think there's like one or two more people I'm slipping up.
Oh yeah, no.
But regardless, there's a lot of people in the scene out there, and again, it just reminds me of, and like yourself was there, so it just reminds me of how, I think about how many motherfuckers are out here doing it who, like, let's say even if you don't fuck with someone's music, you gotta respect their passion, that they're like putting themselves out there and using something like this that can be vulnerable and scary as a way to, like, I don't know, express and heal themselves. I just always respect that, because like, you can't control what your ears like might listen to, but you can, in my opinion, you can start to kind of control how you view people and how you view the human struggle and how you view the human condition. That's why it's like a lot of us when looking around like, man, this should save this.
Yeah, it really did. And I think what makes those connections so important is like we go back and like we can relate on those things, and that there's we all are going through something. Like there's all a reason like why we're creating this art. So when you find someone like that you can connect with in that way, it's the deepest shit. And also the thing with like the 207 scene is like so many diverse styles. That's one thing like I was really
So
impressed,
different.
you know, with like Monday of the Minds, you know, and that whole era is like just seeing we'd all be feeding off that energy. And with it starting with the ciphers and ending with the ciphers, you know, or the started with the open mic or cipher, then open mic, and then end with ciphers, like that layout is beautiful, you know what I mean? Because so many people that wouldn't necessarily ever step up to a mic became really good artists because of Monday of the Minds. And I can say that from just so many nights just sitting in the back observing and witnessing so many different nights there. And like I've seen all types of crazy shit on the open mic there. But yeah, it was just cool to have like you go to Minds and it feels like the 90s.
Yeah.
You know what I
Kinda
mean?
what
Like
you
has
mean.
that vibe.
I
Or
wasn't
like
growing up in that, but
or-
I know what you mean. The underground.
yeah, and I was a kid, but like I can just feel, I guess, when I listen, you know, to you know, to that music or hear that, I would like visualize that being, you know, a lot of that same energy, or like the early 2000s underground vibes.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
And like that's why it's just so nice to have shows back. Like
Oh, it feels so good.
have
And we
that
spoke
energy.
about that, like
Yeah.
how like it was really like kinetic and powerful.
It's a good word. Very connected. There's a lot of energy and movement through live music, especially when you compound it. Like you see a show on, go to a show on Friday night that's kick ass, and you have Monday, on Monday the Minds on Monday, obviously,
Yeah.
and then like the next Thursday there could be like another hip hop show. Like
It's so
I just
dope.
saw 3 shows in 1 week in my city in this little dingy Eastern Seaboard. This is beautiful, yo.
It's so beautiful, man.
Beautiful,
the
man.
weather that night too. I mean, because it was a
Oh
hot
yeah,
day,
that Monday the Minds
but
show.
that just kind of like cooled it off. But that's
Yeah,
you
we
know,
were all
all
in the
that
shade
shit.
under those umbrellas, and just everyone was so happy to fucking be
Yeah,
there.
that's what I want to comment on too. Is like you could just see that everyone felt like more alive than ever, and I
Yeah.
feel like because of all this crazy fucking shit we just went through, you know, in the whole world, like everyone is just like, I think a lot of us. So I know I did. Like I realized like what I took for granted, and that life is so short, and you know we got to do what we love, and we got to connect with the right people.
Truth.
You know.
Truth. Hell yeah. I just wanted to, shout out to 207 and get people pumped that live music's fucking back.
Yeah.
Be safe. but
And
remember,
also I have
we're back.
I'm slowly getting the music thing going back on, you know, like a lot of us. But my first show, I'm waiting on the date back. It's gonna be a hip hop in the park in late July.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's like let's fucking.
Yeah,
I know I
well,
have it
This
somewhere,
is the
man.
first time you've announced this?
Yeah.
This is a Benny's Crib exclusive. Don't
Yeah,
forget,
yeah.
we've got the best podcast in the state. Just that's my
Woo!
opinion. If you think you got the best podcast, I hope you do, because everything you do should be thinking that. Or maybe even when I say best, I don't want to make it like a competition. I'm just saying, I want to make sure I feel at my best doing this. I want to make sure I'm putting my best effort into it. So that's kind of the mindset I'm saying. It's no competition. It's all collaboration. But
Yeah,
Benny's
yeah.
Crib, come on, what are we doing here? Come on, it's a beautiful thing. You
Yeah,
got
yeah.
the date for it?
July 26th, I think that's gonna be popping. Come out. I don't know who else is on the bill yet, but I know they're gonna be fucking dope.
There we go.
I'm gonna have some T-shirts. Working on some more solo shirts, but I have some shirts that I did with the guy that does all my artwork, my homie Safe. Him and I collaborated on
Love
some
it, yo.
concepts.
Love it.
Yeah, and I just come out and vibe to some. It's free. It's good energy. It's
Can't go wrong.
feeling alive again.
Exactly. Well, get ready, folks. The shit's back, and move accordingly, move calmly and calculatedly and safely. But we back, motherfucker.
Yeah.
And I guess I want to now transition an important question that I had been asking all last year, and even a little bit in this year so far too. And I was asking people, 2020 was really hard. What's something that you took out of it that was good? But honestly, the pandemic's not over. There's still that Delta variant should be tripping out. So I'm not trying to like create that energy of like, fuck it, everything's perfect. But I don't want to be talking about 2020 anymore because we're in 2021.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna change that kind of segment into this question.
Yeah.
What's a thing you're excited about in 2021? Something
Blo-
positive.
Yeah. Well, to answer a little bit of what you said before too is, at the end of 2020, it really turned around. I met love of my life.
Mm.
You know what I mean? I wasn't expecting that. And so I'm really and I started a career in actually plumbing,
Nice.
and I didn't expect that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I do that, and then like I have some write raps at night when I have the energy and do the shows, and like you got to find that balance because like before I was just working jobs just to like work with my music schedule, but as even the best artists know, it's hard making money just doing music.
It's fucking really hard.
So
Bro.
then, it feels good just having like, and now I can just make music because I love it. I don't have to worry about like paying bills
Yeah,
with
yeah.
it because that's not what I do it for anyway. Like I'm always gonna rap just because I need to.
Mm.
Also, of course, it's like we said, being a fan first and loving it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to, stepping out of my comfort zone. Um, evolving with my girl and my career, collaborating, connecting with artists, and just really like enjoying all the small things, man, because we really got to cherish the small moments for sure.
That's truth, yo. That's real truth. Tremendous.
Yeah.
That's more of a positive transition from 2020 to 2021.
It's words of phrase usually on that dark shit.
Yeah. Hey, man. Through darkness comes light, man.
That's right. That's right.
And I always say this is an analogy I think is so important to remember. The universe is infinite, cold, and dark, and made of antimatter. Somehow, this giant fucking spear of gas and extreme temperature and light formed through giant elements molding together, or universal elements molding together in giant fashion, creating the sun, and somehow in this darkness, the sun shine onto this rocky water planet that we all live on, and everything we've ever known, everything we've ever experienced, loved, felt, hated, felt attached to, has been on this planet. This all occurred in an infinite sea of darkness. What's he saying? I'm saying that through darkness and through infinite, pretty much like just bleakness, it looked like our life came through that. So in life, when you feel like you're just stuck in an infinite cloud of dark vibes of negativity, remember what the fuck you're living in, bro. Even in those moments, something so beautiful can form through a small flash of light. And that's why I always try to remember, like, darkness is a part of life, and sometimes light isn't. And the fact that I even got sunlight I can experience. I can turn the lights in my apartment. I can breathe internally and feel like almost like an inner light shine.
Alive.
That is so important to remember. So feel the waves. Don't always be like, life is beautiful.
And we got to go back and put that whole, that quote that we got to put that over a beat.
Right?
I was vibing with it.
Yeah, that's true though. It's just like, thank you. It's just, like life ain't always happy. And you remember like how to channel the dark times? Then it almost is kind of like you can always have happiness in the sun.
Yeah, and it's okay. It's okay to be happy,
Yeah, that's a good thing.
You don't gotta be like, even if you're like,
you want to be hard all the time.
I get it, right? And the hip hop too, like but it's all right to be happy. That's coming from a motherfucker that's spent too many years not being happy.
Yeah,
so
same.
you can make happy music too and have it still be
so true.
fire.
You gotta feel all the emotions in life. That's
Yeah,
pretty
you
much
do.
what it comes down to. I say.
Yeah.
You gotta. I said this in the last interview. You gotta use all the crayons in the box sometimes.
I like
all
that.
right. Shout out to the universe. Is there anything you want to tease to the people, or just kind of promote?
Yeah. My next release is gonna be for sure my best release yet, and I got some singles after. I got a couple more videos I'm gonna drop from Humbly Worded, and I got some singles, and then I'm working with a producer that I'm really excited to work with, and we're actually
Hell yeah.
only hint I'll give is we're both from the South and the same city, so maybe people will put it together.
Roanoke.
Yeah.
Graphic is Graphic from there?
No, Graphic is from VA, but
Yeah.
not Roanoke. So
Is there another producer out here from Roanoke, or are they not from Maine?
No, he's still down there or in that area.
You got me
so.
Googling Roanoke producers right now. And now I feel a fool because I should know it. And now I'm going to feel even worse if I see it. And I don't know it. Oh, now it's giving me American Horror Story.
Yeah, and it's not like...
What is this?
It's big, he rocked shows up here. And he's rocked, it's not like the biggest name, but his beats, they are that.
They ring. You can tell me off camera. We can do that.
Yeah.
Where can people contact you? The email for business inquiries or like social media profiles? Shit.
Words of Phrase on Instagram. And then wordsoffphrase@gmail.com for any booking.
Tremendous.
Collaborations. Those are the best spots.
Love it, yo. Last question I ask everybody. It's been a good interview. I feel like we covered a lot of great parts of your story. We promoted the new album. We got into some space talks. I'm high where I can still get into those and feel creative, but I'm not too high where I'm not grounded a little bit in some simple reality.
Right.
It's been a good one. Thanks for being here, and let's conclude this with this question. Where will Words of Phrase be 1 year from now?
grinding in the career and making the best music of my life while loving my future life.
There we go. Tremendous. Shout out Tristan. Shout out Yardy Ting. Shout out Fire on 4 or Beach Boys. One of them gave me the smoke tonight. And yeah, we'll see you next week. Peace.
Shout out to Elevation.